After extensive negotiations, Terence Crawford has announced that the rematch with Errol Spence is confirmed, and he's confirmed the weight as well. With a rematch lined up next, many pros are concerned for Errol Spence going into the upcoming fight. Bernard Hopkins thinks that Spence is going to have the same problems that he had in the first fight. Bernard stated, "Some, and if not, over 60% of people might think that, but I think a little different. I don't think that he might win, but I think it would be different, which would be entertaining to us looking for it not to be any different than the first fight. So exercise, which you negotiated, grant that on both sides and then move on. Matter of fact, you should already have, but you want to move on next to end the works anyway. That's what managers, advisors, promoters, that's what they do, and hopefully some fighters will start taking that good lesson. But anyway, I think that the fight has credibility to go for the rematch based on what they negotiated." Paulie Malignaggi is concerned about Errol not getting a break. Paulie stated, "If you didn't know better, you'd think Errol Spence's team hates him, but we do know better. They do love their fighter just like a father loves their son. It's just that they get caught up in the moment. They get caught up in the emotion of it." Eddie Hearn is really worried about Errol Spence too. Eddie stated, "No, I don't think so. I think that was a taxing fight for Errol Spence. Without taking anything away from Terence Crawford's performance, there are starting to be a few miles on the clock for Spence, whether it's lifestyle, retina, or car crash, whether it's tough fights, and that kind of fight last time would do some more to take some extra miles off the tank. I do think he'd be stronger at 154. He's been at 147 a long time, but I still think Terence Crawford is the big favorite in that fight. I don't think it's a fight people are clamoring for, so I think you're going to have to find something to get Spence off the pan for that rematch." Terence Crawford doesn't matter what happens leading up to the rematch, but he knows that it's going to be the same outcome.
Because, I think Errol is a strong-minded, strong-willed individual. I feel as if, he would go back to the drawing board. He would come back stronger. He'll come back more hungrier, and he'll try to fix the things that, he needed to fix to make the fight look different in the second time than in the first time. I do believe that, but that's the only thing that I can actually sense, because I will be on the other side.
Leonard Ellerby doesn't think that Errol had a very good night the first time, and he thinks he messed up with allowing Terence to pick the weight for the rematch. Leonard stated, "But Errol gave him the opportunity when he didn't have to. He made the fight because he wanted to do it for the fans. He sacrificed some things. So, in my opinion, you gotta do what you gotta do. 154 is 7 pounds north. It does make a difference. Errol Spence is an incredible fighter, and Crawford is too. If that's what Errol wants to do in the rematch, I support him wholeheartedly, because he, as a fighter, as a man, knows what he wants, and if Crawford will grant him that opportunity to give it to the fans." Errol didn't have a good fight that night, but it's sometimes like that. He just wants the opportunity to redeem himself, and I support that. Max Kellerman thinks that there are things to watch out for from both sides of the fence. Max stated, "The tough thing for Crawford is Spence has a very high work rate, and we've seen Spence win behind a jab and defense on a world-class level. He's also a real hard hitter, and he's twitchy, and he's very aggressive. So usually Crawford likes to study a guy for a couple of rounds, and then he says, okay, now I got it, and then he does it. But against Crawford, you might have to hurt him or knock him out, because you could turn around, and if Crawford messes around, he could be down 4 rounds to 1 after 5 rounds, and not against a guy who's looking to survive, against a guy who's looking to beat you up." Oscar De La Hoya definitely thinks that this rematch is going to go the same way as the last fight, no matter what weight they go to. Oscar stated, "And my last question, Spence versus Crawford, if the rematch happens at 154 or 147, does it make a difference? No difference whatsoever. It can happen at 200 pounds. It's not going to make a difference. Crawford has the better skill. Canelo Alvarez thinks that Spence should have reconsidered activating his rematch clause, and he thinks it's going to be the same outcome. Canelo stated, "I don't think it's time for Spence to retire. Crawford was just the best man that night. But if they fight again, it's just going to be the same thing. Crawford is a better fighter. I respect Spence, I like Spence, but Crawford has everything." Crawford believes that he has the key to winning against Spence now, and he plans to use it again in the rematch. Crawford stated, "The fight is won in training. So given the fact that we expected Errol to come out the way he did, given the circumstances that we knew what he was going to do when he was going to do it, because Errol fights the same way each and every time he steps into the ring, all we had to do was take away his jab, we felt. We take away his jab, he becomes basic, and that's what we did on fight night." Claressa Shields definitely thinks that Terence already has Spence's number no matter how hard Spence trains. Claressa stated, "I think he'll train hard. I think he'll be better. He can put forth a better effort, but when somebody destroys you like that, they always got the ups on you." There was talk about Errol changing trainers to get a new game plan for his rematch, but Jeff Mayweather doesn't think that should be the case though. Jeff Mayweather stated, "I don't think so. You win all these fights with the same guy, and then after your first loss, you're looking for someone to blame. I don't know their relationship to that point, and Errol is the fighter. He has to make the decision on what's best for him. I hate to see that because they grew up together, and it's a kind of a slap in the face. Still, it's his Spence career, and he may feel like he needs a change. It seemed like, to me, they're looking for someone to blame." Errol Spence was really hoping that the rematch could be at a higher weight, and he knew he had some issues to work on.
Definitely, it was exciting. The whole build up to it and leading up to it too. So it's something that I wouldn't change for nothing, and I'm definitely open to the rematch, and hopefully it'll be at 154 pounds.
Terence has confirmed that the rematch is on, and he's looking to December for a potential date. Terence stated, "He exercised the rematch, and that's the fight that should happen next, so we shall see how the negotiations go. We're supposed to fight in December, and I'm back in training." The contract states that either one or the other has got to notify in writing that he can no longer make the weight. If not, the fight will be at 147. After Terence handles Errol in the rematch, he's looking to take on Canelo for another belt, and then he plans to retire. Sources stated, Terence Crawford has made it clear that his new career goal is to become a 3-weight undisputed world champion and then retire from boxing. Errol Spence also seemed interested in a fight against Canelo next, and he stated, "We're not thinking about Canelo right now, but I'd definitely take that fight. I feel like 165 pounds, 168 pounds, that's more my natural weight, and it's a lot easier for me to make, so I'd definitely take that fight." Canelo has been backing Terence to beat Errol, and Errol definitely hasn't been happy about that. Errol stated he got it wrong because he's not God, and he backed himself to beat Bivol, and he got his whooped. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to subscribe and check out some of our other videos on the screen right now.